The feeling is very, very positive, and I guess that's just a trait of the Kiwi Tall Blacks. Even having lost Sean Marks, they're positive. They're quietly positive, looking at them, talking to a couple of them. They know they can do the job. If we look back just a couple of weeks ago, they were in China and beat China without both Kirk Penny and Sean Marks. And if we look back a year ago, they took on the Aussies and beat them without Sean. So they're used to adversity, and there's a mountain to climb. We've got to do it this afternoon, and it's a big mountain, but look, they are very positive.
Well, that's great to hear that they are so positive, Bob. We were chatting, Chris Tupou and I, just a few minutes ago about the loss of Sean Marks. What is your take on that? Who is going to replace him? Do we know who's going to replace him in the starting five?
Probably my guess would be Ed Book. There are two guys who are going to have to step up. Well, three guys who are really going to have to step up and play more, and probably better than they have so far. Ed Book, I'm sure, will replace him. And Rob Hickey, who hasn't had a lot of court time, the 7-footer, he's going to have to get off the bench. He's going to have to come in. He's got to contribute for about 10 or 12 minutes. And also Damon Rampton is going to get a lot more court time. Now, I'm sure Tab is going to rotate those three players in an attempt to fill up the gap, take up the slack, if you will, that's going to be left by the absence of Sean Marks. But they've done it before, and they can do it again.
I like the confidence, Bob, and we're right behind you and right behind the team as well. Thanks for that. We'll be back with you shortly for your call on the New Zealand-Germany second-round match with Jeff Green. Now, Chris Tupou, tactics today. What do you think? Ed Book is the call from Bob Monte. You'd go along with that?
Yeah, I think he's been the best of the other big men that New Zealand have, and he's shown in the game against Argentina, he stepped up. He went to battle against those big guys, so I think that's a good move. I think we may see Kirk Penny and Phil Jones and those players maybe take their players off the dribble a little more today. Obviously, the Germans have a bit of a taller team, but likewise, they're going to have trouble matching up with our smaller, quicker guards.
The other point that Bob made was that Rob Hickey's going to play maybe 10 to 12 today. Really have to step up.
He will. It's his first chance to get to play on this big stage, and Rob, he was great in that series against Hungary here in New Zealand, so we're looking, hopefully he'll be able to step into those shoes and do a good job in the 10-12 minutes that he will play today.
Well, we're looking forward to that, that's for sure. Now, we've seen some highlights this morning of the win over Russia. What can we take, Chris, from the win over Venezuela into the game we're about to see?
Well, I think execution. They executed their offence extremely well, and we saw some really good team defence.
Certainly, though, the South Americans on top early on, and they were hurting us inside and out.
Yeah, you can see Carl Herrera just getting a little put back. They're going to have to really box the Germans off the boards today. Our outside shooting from Penny, Cameron, and Phil Jones will have to, they'll have to knock down some outside shots today, and we can see this.
See Pero Cameron there, though. I mean, in the clutch, you can go to that guy.
Definitely, he's a key player for us, and he makes big moves, big plays. We'll be looking for more of those today, I think.
See an example there of the team spirit, the unity in the squad.
Oh, it's fantastic. Their character, Tab's always said their character is never in doubt. And today I think we're going to see a really fired-up New Zealand team with a day's rest coming out and firing. Without
the turnovers, though, and without giving the ball away, you give it to a player like Torres and he can punish you. Nowitzki the same.
Definitely. They're going to have to play a lot of what they call help defence. It won't be left up to just one man to mark Dirk Nowitzki. They're going to have to play really good help side team defence to stop that NBA superstar, really.
Just saw Ed Book before. He's prepared to get in there and mix it?
Yeah, he will have to today, and he'll have to have support from the likes of Dylan Boucher. Kirk Penny and Phil Jones are going to have to get on the glass with him.
So the win over Venezuela is something that we had in that game that we aren't going to see much of in this tournament, and that is that we had a height advantage that day.
Yeah, definitely. But as we said before, the Kiwis being smaller, that'll bring their own advantages, and I'm looking for some quick moves and taking these bigger players off the dribble, and to some extent bringing them out beyond the three-point line so that they come away from the rebounding position.
So that made us 2 from 2, that win over Venezuela. What can we learn then from the loss against Argentina?
I think they didn't execute their offence well in the fourth quarter. We look at the statistics, they were about 1 for 9 or 1 for 8 from the field. Argentina just were able to step up, and the Kiwis have to execute down the stretch, especially in the fourth quarter.
Now we're watching just these highlights from the game against Argentina. Pero able to get inside?
Yeah, he uses his body well, as we see here. Sean Marks, just some great moves inside. He has really come on, and he'll be a big loss for us. Bit of argy-bargy there, but, the Tall Blacks, they're not going to back down from anybody. especially not the Germans today.
And especially not Dylan Boucher.
No, he's one of their emotional leaders, if you like, in the team, and he's going to be a key. He may get to mark Dirk Nowitzki today as well, so, you know, I'm sure that Tab Baldwin's got a few little tactics that he's going to throw in there just to maybe catch them off guard.
Just as we look at these highlights against Argentina and we see what a big loss Sean Marks is going to be, perhaps important to note too that Hernandez, the Argentinian, did go in afterwards into the New Zealand camp and apologise personally to Sean Marks for the injury. Yeah,
it's an unfortunate thing. He did swipe it kind of at the ball. You know, it still was a little bit dangerous with the eyes in the way there. This player here that we're having a look at, Emmanuel Ginobili, obviously he's going to the NBA. He's been signed by the San Antonio Spurs. And in every team, I think the Tall Blacks will play from now, there's going to be a key kind of superstar player.
You play at this level, you can't avoid them, can you?
No.
But he was brilliant.
He was, and he showed some real skill there.
And it's Nowitzki who's the guy we've got to look for today.
He'll be one of their keys. He's scoring, as we said before, a third of the points for their team, so he's going to be a big factor. But hey, if we stop him, who knows?
Exactly. So, the 3 matches in group play. Remember, the stated aim had been to get out of the group, but now the Tall Blacks...
On the bench, he's wearing dark sunglasses to protect that eye. But another interesting little thing, Fernandez, a player from Argentina, visited Sean in the hotel yesterday with an interpreter and gave him his heartfelt apologies for having put him out of the tournament. And it was a nice gesture, but we'd rather have Sean here playing. And the other interesting thing is we've had several emails from fans. These are devoted fans in New Zealand suggesting herbal and naturopathic cures for Sean's eyes. I don't think they've taken them up on any of those things. It is a cut iris. There's not too much you can do about that. And Jeff Green, anything to add to those little tidbits?
No, I think what we've got to look forward to is a game without Sean. I know the team has put it behind them. They are really focused, Bob. And I believe this is a game that we can win. This is one that, you know, privately, I think Tab and Nenad have decided that, you know, we can sneak up on these guys, particularly without our NBA star. And, you know, the camp at the function yesterday afternoon, they were very, very positive, were they not?
Well, they were, Jeff, because they've done it before. As I said earlier, they have come a long way without their 2 stars. They've been in the team, out of the team, that sort of thing. But basically, we have a core of really Kiwi triers, real Kiwi triers here who brought us this far. But I just want to tell people watching, if you want to see the future of basketball, watch Dirk Nowitzki. Now, he plays in the NBA. This is a big German center. He stands 2.13 meters tall. This is a complete basketball player. There's a good shot of him there. And no one, bar no one on the American team the other day could handle this guy. He scored virtually at will. I am absolutely over the moon impressed with this player.
Yeah, Dirk Nowitzki, he went out and scored 34 on the Americans. He kept the Germans in the game all the way. And of course, as we see on the screen there, the New Zealand team being introduced. But you know, Nowitzki is a world-class player, and he's probably my pick at the moment of most valuable players so far in the tournament.
Well, if you put him up with Sean Marks and Pau Gasol, we've got a very
Ginobili from Argentina.
Fantastic team, and that's leaving the Americans aside, and we all know what skill they have. Now, New Zealand just being introduced there, Kirk Penny coming out, and Phil Jones will be playing in Italy after this. He's got an Italian contract, and that's a very, very good step up for Phil, Jeff.
Oh, that's going to be a huge step for Phil. And in fact, I was sitting next to Oscar Robertson, the Big O, a legend of world basketball, you know, probably one of the top 5 in world basketball players ever to play the game. And he said of 2 things of 2 Kiwis. One of Pero Cameron, he said, look, every time your big number 11 sets himself as a set shooter, squares to the basket, there's none better that he's seen at this tournament. And in Phil Jones, he said, that guy is the quickest guy I've ever seen stop on a dime, and that's on a 5-cent piece, no, 10-cent piece, sorry.
5-cent piece. Stop on the size of a 5-cent piece, Jeff.
Stop on a size of a 5-cent piece and go straight up and shoot a jump shot. Now, that's from the Big O, and he's one of the leading all-time scorers, assist man.
That's right.
The man that made the triple-double.
That's right. Oscar Robertson averaged 30 points plus over a whole season. That's about 14 years in the NBA. What a class act he was. Well, we're just a few minutes away from the start of this New Zealand's first second-round game going against Germany. Now, they played Germany and lost by 9 points. on the way to the World Championships. That's just about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks probably. So that the players will have a lot of confidence. They would have taken confidence from that game. Even though Sean Marks is not playing, the Kiwis have done very well without him, and they're going to have to, well, as they say, reach deep, dig deep, and come up fighting.
That's one of the things that's been very prevalent at these World Championships, Bob, talking amongst the international media. And of course, our Turkish friends right on the right-hand side of us are doing the game in Turkey. And they just love New Zealand's fighting spirit. I haven't spoken to anyone in the media contingent here at the World Championships. They just love the spirit of not only within the team. They think Pero Cameron is a great leader. They think that the spirit within the team is just tremendous, and that there is no stars. You know, even though we have Sean Marks, no one in the team appears to be the star. And people in the US and the international media have really loved it and have warmed to the Kiwis.
That's right, Jeff. They've made a lot of friends wherever they've gone. And at the supporters gathering a couple of days ago in the Hard Rock Cafe, it was just a wonderful gathering of happy Kiwis, and the team was there. People were talking, slapping each other on the back, just having a wonderful time. They've had a day off. They're quite rested now, and we're back into the action. We play Germany first up. Then we'll go against the United States, and then we're really targeting that last game against China. But hey, China made a game of it for 3 quarters against the Americans, and didn't they look good? Yeah,
you and I sat here right at courtside and watched the Chinese, and here goes the haka. This has been well received worldwide. Absolutely, people just love to see this. Paul Winitana taking the boys through the haka. Oh, that's tremendous stuff, Bob. It really sends the hairs on the back of the neck going up, especially to see young Kirk Penny at the front there. That is tremendous stuff.
It is, Jeff. It really raises the heartbeat. There's another 40 Kiwis up in the stands. They're doing the haka right along with the team.
Former Tall Black Brendan Pongia. Brendan Pongia arrived yesterday in a state, and he led the crowd up there in the stands in the haka. Absolutely tremendous.
That's right. Starting lineup for Germany. Watch Okalaja. What a player. Nowitzki, as I said, big player for them. And New Zealand going with their normal lineup, except Dylan Boucher stepping in to replace Sean Marks. We thought it might have been Ed Book. We thought they'd go with the tall lineup, but Dylan Boucher gets the nod, and he's used to this. He'll be starting. New Zealand is going to be by far the shorter team. We've got 2 players, Nowitzki, 2.13 meters tall, and Patrick Femerlin at 2.14. Now that's around about 7'1", 7'2". These are big fellas. And Nowitzki, as I said, he's probably in the top 5 of the best basketball players I have ever seen, Jeff. Any place, any time, Nowitzki has class.
Yeah, he certainly does, and he certainly is one of the cornerstones of the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA, and definitely one of the cornerstones here of the German team. And you know, he's not going to take it easy by no means. He's a real competitor, and like I said, he took the US apart single-handedly.
Well, that's right. Nowitzki led the Dallas Mavericks to the Western Conference semifinals in the NBA this year. He averaged 28.4 points, 9 rebounds a game, and 71% from the free throw line. Dirk Nowitzki. But enough about the Germans.
It's all about the Kiwis this morning, Bob. It's all about us, and I've got to tell you, I'm really hyped for this game, I've got to say.
Well, I must say I am too, Jeff. And probably about 80% of New Zealand is watching this game. Their television sets set up in businesses. Kids are cutting school. Teachers have sore throats all of a sudden. The country is watching the Tall Blacks as we start the game, and New Zealand controls the tip-off. Pero Cameron lights it up.
Big PC starts off exactly where we We want him to start with the big 3, and that came off the jump ball. Dylan Boucher at 6'5", went up against the 7-footer and won the jump ball.
That's right. Now, Jeff promises to get a little excited as the game goes on here. 3-0, New Zealand lead. Okulaja comes back with his own three-pointer. He answers the call. Ademola Okulaja with 3. The scores are locked.
Good German name as well, Bob.
Indeed, indeed. Northeastern Germany, I believe. Pemmerling got the block, but before that, number 4, Demeril picks up his first foul. Mark Dickel threw a nice fake, went to the hole. He was fouled, and Tab Baldwin on that left knee. He does his best thinking on the left knee, Jeff.
He certainly doesn't. He's got that hand on that chin, and you know that Tab's in deep thought. And we've got to say, the Kiwis went straight into the triangle there, made so famous by Phil Jackson and the Chicago Bulls and Los Angeles Lakers. And so that's Tab's primary offense, and that worked a dream right there.
That's what we need. Dickel makes his first free throw. I'm sure the boys are pumped for this game. They're not going to give away an inch. They will fight to the last. Germany's going to be in for a little bit of a fight here. All right, New Zealand 5, Germany 3. Only 1 minute has been played. Okulaja hounded out front. Here's a lovely player, number 11, that's Garris. Stefano Garris takes it to the hole and makes a nice layup.
Because there's no presence of Sean Marks inside, no big man to block shots. He took it straight to the rack as soon as he touched it.
Now Pero trying to draw fouls. Oh, ball was passed too low, came off his ankle. A little bit of a turnover. Pero knows the responsibility that's riding on his shoulders, but he's used to that. Nowitzki guarded by Boucher. Dylan's got a big task. Okulaja picks up a nice rebound, and the foul's going to be against Kirk Penny, number 6. The scowl on Tab's face does not like the call in the least.
We should have got that rebound, Bob. Nowitzki, he went away from the basket, shot the fadeaway jumper. Dylan did a good job. We should have secured that defensive board.
Well, we've seen it in every game. Once or twice, somebody goes down. There's always a wet patch on the floor, so it seems. And Okulaja slid out of bounds there. That's too bad. We've got 2 neutral referees again. Iztok Rems from Slovenia and Renato Santos from Brazil. Phil Jones can't put it down. Boucher with the rebound. He just misses the putback.
That's right. Sparky saved it. On the ensuing missed layup, Sparky saved it, so we've got another chance, Bob.
15 seconds on the shot clock. Pero going in against Femmerling. Phil Jones comes off the pick, straight to the hole. Nice pass to Boucher, and it's there. Good assist.
Absolutely, and of course, Phil Jones down the lane with that great left hand of his, easy layup on top of the big guy by Dylan Boucher. Good stuff, New Zealand.
Femmerling has to come high to get the ball. Here's Garris. Nice, smooth player trying to get the baseline on Phil Jones. Has the ball, rejected. Penny goes around Femmerling. Cross-court pass. Here's Jones. Little fake. Straight to the hole. Doesn't go down. Kept alive by Boucher. The Germans come away with it. Good confident play, Jeff. They're taking it straight to the basket. They're looking for fouls or 2 points every time.
Every time down the court, and I think that's good stuff from the Kiwis. Get down low. There's Dylan Boucher on the floor. On the 7-footer. Great stuff.
Well, there's probably hardly a player in the tournament that's as familiar with the floor. Here is Dylan Boucher. He's met the wood many times already. It's just a feature of his game. He loves kissing that wood.
Very much so. The ultimate floor mop, our Dylan.
7-5. New Zealand by 2. We got 6:56 left in the first period. Okulaja saw a wall there and decided to go back left. Boucher almost gets a steal. Here's Nowitzki. Oh, you beauty.
You can't leave him open. That's pure magic.
Oh, I like watching him. Just hope he doesn't do too much damage today. Jones kicks it out. Pero's got it.
Pero, that's the second one, Bob. I try not to get excited. I know we're only just into the game, but this is a great start by the Kiwis. Very, very positive.
Indeed it is, Jeff. 10-8. Just what we were hoping for, what we were looking for. Nowitzki, weak side rebound. Garris goes high to get it. Very smooth player, I like him. Demerel. Nowitzki in the corner. Boucher guarding him. Has to put up the three. He falls down.
That's a 7-footer that Dillon's having to guard. You know, Nowitzki's 7 foot tall and great athleticism, so that's a good job by Boucher right now.
Indeed. Kirk Penny with a three. Doesn't go down. Watch Sparky Dickel next time he brings the ball up the court. We got a charge.
Good job,
Sparky.
Mark Dickel. Sparky Mark Dickel. Good job. He took the charge. If you get a replay, look at it. He set his feet. And that could be 2 fouls on number 4.
Sparky's hot wired. Watch him bring the ball up the floor. If you had to set Sparky Dickel bring the ball up the floor to music, it would have to be the Flight of the Bumblebee. Boucher going baseline, puts it on the glass. It's there! Unbelievable!
Boucher puts up the circus shot. What do you say to that bomb one time?
Well, God has come back from Brazil, where he's been having a holiday, and he's smiling on Dillon Boucher. I say that because Brazil won a game in overtime. Amazing. So, Sparky Dickel, here we go. Carol Cameron goes plowing into Feverell, and they call unbelievably a
steps. Where did the referee pull that out of his book of tricks?
Well,
can you believe this, though, Bob? 12-8. This is a good start. This is the start we wanted.
Indeed it is. Nowitzki comes high against Boucher. Now Boucher nose to chest against Dirk Nowitzki. Femerling backing in against Carol Cameron. Just pushes his way to the board. That's just good muscle-up basketball. Not much you can do about that. Carroll set himself up like a truck stop, but Femerling just went right over it.
Oh, he certainly did, 7-footer. Carroll's only 6'6", so that was always going to happen, that mismatch.
Dillon straight into Dirk Nowitzki. Phil Jones just rides Okalaja to the sideline.
He had no choice. It was a 3-on-2 fast break against the Kiwis. Got a timeout on the floor going to Tad Baldwin.
Okay, so with 4:29 left in the first period, New Zealand, I like saying this, lead Germany 12-10. Well, Jeff, as we've said, a good start for New Zealand. They look confident. They're sticking to their pattern. They're taking the ball underneath, and they obviously want to get some fouls on the big guys. Exactly the sort of game plan we have to follow.
Yeah, and you can see it. Dillon Boucher hasn't even looked at shooting a jump shot. Every time he's touched the ball, he's tried to draw contact on some of the big guys, particularly Nowitzki, who's guarding him. So he's gone to the hole. All he needs now is someone to follow him down the lane and maybe for that dish off. And, there's 2 points in the offering because he's taking both big men out of the game with him.
You've got to give it to a guy like Dillon Boucher. He's played most of his basketball life in the shadows.
Yeah,
he's in there. He's like a small pine tree in a forest of Cowrie.
He certainly is. He's more like shrubs in the forest when it comes to some of these 7-footers we're playing against. But, Dillon relishes it. I remember when he came back from China, he said that all his bruises were around the head area because that's where he come up to everyone's elbows.
That's right. When those elbows start slicing through the air, they're just around ear level. He should have one of the helmets we just saw on the television screen there, the guy who's got a basketball.
I saw him walk into the stadium. I said, nice look.
Ah, yes. That's a real style statement.
It certainly is.
Good thing we're not playing softball. Here we go. 4:29 left in the first period. The Kiwis.
There's a contingent of Kiwi fans there on screen.
Yeah, they're a rabid lot, all right. They're here in numbers. They're fired up. They didn't need much pumping up for this game. They've come to Indianapolis to enjoy the atmosphere. And one of the features of the tournament, Jeff, has got to be the parochialism. I love hearing the Venezuelans. I love hearing the Spaniards. I love hearing the
Turkish are my best fans. The Turkish are absolutely, I wish we had fans like the Turkish. They're awesome.
Well, in the game before this one, the Turkish media were so incensed by the referee. There were 3 beefy cops holding them back from going charging out on the court to get to the United States referee. They
3
were
technical
furious.
fouls in that game. It was incredible.
Germany inbounding the ball. Nowitzki comes up, tries to set a pick on Penny, gets an elbow for his efforts. Femmerling. No, he's not going to back inside. They love getting it into Femmerling or Dirk Nowitzki and let them just work one-on-one toward that basket. Oh, nice little move by Demerel.
He went with the right hand, changed it to the left hand, easy layup.
He looks like Sparky's little brother. He's actually shorter than Sparky. Sparky will be enjoying this. He'd love to post up low on this guy.
There's not very many people that are shorter than Sparky, and Demerel is.
Nowitzki doesn't go down. He's not having the hottest of starts here, but that plays right into our hands. Scores locked, 12-0, 3:50 left in the first period. Both teams matching each other basket for basket virtually. Demerel trapped in the corner, gives it up to Femmerling. Garris, nice little ghost along the baseline. Couldn't quite get to the basket because his path was blocked by Sparky Dickel. Dickel's got to step up. He's got to put a few points up today. Big game from him is needed. And Phil Jones has really got to drop a couple of threes, I think.
Yeah, he certainly does. He needs to get hot real quick so that takes the pressure off the others.
Well, time was running down there, so Dickel had to put up a 3. Good shot, but it didn't go down. Garris, his shot doesn't drop. And Nowitzki's pushed away from the basket. The foul is going to be called against Kirk Penny. That's number 2 on Kirk Penny. In comes Ed Book. Now, this is a good substitution. Penny on 2 fouls early on here. He's got to be pulled out of the ball game.
Yeah, and just on the replay there, that didn't look like a heck of a lot, but this is a good move. Ed Book brings a bit of size, 6'11". That's going to help the rebounding. We just need to tidy up our defensive rebounds.
Germany on 2 fouls. The Kiwis have 14 fouls already. Femmerling's shot doesn't go down, and the ball comes down to the Kiwis. We want to give up 1 shot, no more. No second shots for the Germans if possible today, and Perro's doing the job. Takes it straight to the hole, and he's fouled by Okulaja.
Yeah, that was a good offensive move immediately. If you look on the replay, he spun on Okulaja straight away, challenged the big 7-footer, and just put the ball on the rim. The referees did the rest. Good job, Pero Cameron.
And now the free throw shooting can become a factor in the game. Just as I say that, Pero misses his first, and
look away, Bob, look away.
Jeff's hands are reaching for my throat here to try to throttle me.
We can't watch. See what happens when you don't look, Bob.
What happened? Okay.
We go up by 1.
Right, New Zealand 13, Germany 12. Here's a 20-year-old guard, number 10, Nick Abotsky. End of the game.
A 3-2 zone. Let's see what they can do. Well, it produced a bit of a turnover.
Yeah, they've got the Germans rattled. Scoring's very close, but the Germans don't look like the cohesive unit they have been in previous games.
They started off against the US very, very hotly.
I've got to say, probably one of the, if you look at, there's about 5 or 6 teams who play with superb control, and New Zealand is in that group of 5 or 6. We don't have the height. We probably don't have the individual talent some of the other teams do. But we certainly play nice control basketball.
Sorry, Bob. That was an offensive foul by Nowitzki over the top of big Ed Book. 7-footer going against 7-footer. He went over the top. Referee pinged him. That's a crucial foul for us to get.
And it's got Nowitzki having a little bit of a hooey with the referee. It's great to see.
Yeah, they've learned the haka, now they're into hooeys.
Perhaps it was just a simple corridor.
Oh, very good, Bob. You need to hang out with me further.
Paul Henare into the game. At point guard. That's another good change. Point guards really do a lot of running in the game. Got to keep them fresh. And Phil Jones with 3.
Set up for the 3-point line. That's what we want to see. And we need Phil to heat up with Kirk Penny on the bench. Good stuff, Phil.
I see it, I believe. Phil Jones. I believe Reefton just let out a roar. Number 5, Okulaja puts up 2, and it's New Zealand 16, Germany 14. Pero at the top. Underneath, Boucher, a little fake. He's trapped. He's got to get out of there, get the ball up. And he's called for 3 seconds. You can't hang around in that painted part of the court for longer than 3 seconds.
Yeah, I think that that referee's got a quick 3-second stopwatch on him.
That's like a Midwestern tour. You go through the towns as quick as you can. You don't hang around. Don't put up your tent. Pesek passes off, gets the ball back. And the Kiwis are forcing the German offense high. And here's a blocking foul on Patrick Femerling.
Yeah, the big guy, he lent his, that big 7-foot frame. He just went in, and here's another sub that we thought would happen come this game. Damon Rampton coming into the game, and watch Damon on the offensive boards. I think he'll give the Germans some trouble.
I always love that gesture, don't you? What, me, ref? A 7-footer, Patrick Femerling. Great inside presence for Germany. Picks up a foul, and Ed Book has got to play a blinder for New Zealand this afternoon.
Paul Henare picked up that foul on the opposing offensive guard.
Surprised Book didn't come out with a helmet on today.
Well, the Mad Butcher hasn't given us a ring for a work permit for the Argentinian.
No, he hasn't. Book really got hammered last game, but he's back fighting. It's a true Kiwi. Nice little putback from the Germans. 16 to New Zealand, 16 to Germany. Henare gives it off to Book, backing in against Femerling. Puts it up, has a shot rejected. Big player, Femerling. Negabatsi has to take it back outside. Pesic. I like the Kiwis. They're pushing the German offense quite high. Very hard for them to get in. Here's one of the few times they have. Femerling goes baseline, misses the shot, and he knocks it out of bounds. That's good defense from Ed Book.
That's good defense, and you're right, Bob. You know, the fact that the offense is being pushed all the way outside the keyhole. That's great, and of course we've got a timeout with New Zealand.
54.3 seconds to be exact, and New Zealand calls a timeout. The scores are locked, 16-all. Well, Jeff, great defensive game here. This is really like a couple of heavyweights standing up just toe-to-toe, 16 each.
It certainly is, and it is toe-to-toe. And if we look at Tab now and listen in, you know, he's looking at the fact that we've got to get in there and play some good defense.
They're playing into their hands by not running anything. That's what I don't understand.
We'll assume people can hear this, so we just listen to Tab Baldwin.
Okay, then we need to execute properly on offense.
No, they've gone back to the German. But Tab was saying that offensively, that you know, he's surprised. We're standing around. We're not making the movement. You know, Ed Book got caught down on the low block that last time, having to go up against a guy that, you know, at least 2 inches taller and 7'1". And so that's what we need.
Free defense down here is everybody standing around. Double team. We don't have a double team in the free defense. We talked about structure. You're more than capable of that. Let's go through it.
Well, that was great comment from Tad Baldwin there. He said, like, you know, we want good three defenses in a row. We don't want to double team the basketball. If the ball goes into the low post, don't double team. Rely on our own individual efforts as defensive players. Down the other end, let's get some structure to it. And, you know, hit it right on the head. That's why he's the coach.
2 key words, 5 syllables, structure and discipline. Been the keys to the New Zealand game so far. And this, the 2002 World Basketball Championships. Another beautiful day in Indianapolis, but who cares? We're at the gym watching a basketball feast here. Flavel goes baseline. Nice little behind-the-back pass. Shot doesn't go in. A looping left-handed hook shot from Ed Book. Nice look.
It certainly was a good look, and Damon Rampton was on the offensive glass. He just about got that offensive rebound. That's what he's in the game for.
Well, Rampton is the kind of player, he'll pick up 6 or 8 garbage points, but he'll also pick up 8 or 9 rebounds, and that's why he's in there. Rampton looks positively small against Femerling, but Rampton is 2.0 meters tall, 2.0 meters, going up against Femerling, 2.14 meters.
And if you get a shot of this replay of Ed Book on Nowitzki, it's this is real basketball where it's really played down low in the trenches. And, you know, Nowitzki and Book were just going at it, hammer and song. You know, talk about heavyweights. I don't know if they go that hard down on the block.
Well, there's so many good matchups in this game. Next time up the court, pick two players, any two, and just watch them for a moment or two, and you'll just see what intensity is all about, and you'll see what a non-contact sport looks like. Jeff?
Yeah, you've got to be right about that, Bob. Who wrote in the rules it's a non-contact sport?
Well, I think that's what Naismith thought about when he invented the game in 1896.
What was he thinking? It was a great game he thought up, but what was he thinking about non-contact sport?
Henry, hounded by Negabatsi, has to get it up, throws it at the hoop with time running down. And that's the end of the first period. Germany is into a 2-point lead over New Zealand. It's 18-16.
Ian Lawler knew lots about backpacking, but running a hostel was a different story. He approached business in the community and...
Well, Jeff Evan, we had a lot of entertainment this time on. Brendan Pongia won the shooting contest hands down. He didn't miss a shot. He had to shoot under the basket a free throw, and he dropped a three. And then he did a haka, looking back at his mates sitting mid-court about 20 rows back, and they loved it.
And the crowd loved it. Everyone was on their feet. The law enforcement officers here even turned around and watched it. They loved that haka. As I came in this morning, they said, are you going to do the haka again today? And I says, absolutely, this team is fired up, and they love it.
Is a fish waterproof? Of course we're going to do it. Okay, back to the game. Now, there's a couple of things we just have to note here. Kirk Penny is scoreless, and Jeff and I were just talking. We've got to free up players like Kirk Penny and Phil Jones to try to get those threes. Pero Cameron leads the New Zealanders in the first period with 7 points. Dylan Boucher has 4, but we're really struggling offensively. The German machine is shutting us down. Germany scored 6 unanswered points to go into a 2-point lead here, 18-16. Defensively, we're doing the job. Negabatsi with 3.
And he's Turkish. That guy's Turkish, born and bred. And the Turkish team want him to play, but he's off playing for Germany. He should be in Turkey now.
There are a lot of Turkish immigrants in Germany. He's probably one of those who's naturalized now. He's certainly an exciting young player, about 20 years old, stands about 6'3" or 4, a great little guard. Henry Scott, no, I thought he had it. In and out. Foot race to the other end. Okulaja makes it 2, and New Zealand suddenly a little bit in trouble here. 23-16, a scoring drought has overtaken them. Offensively, very, very hard to penetrate the German defense.
And that's because we've only got really one true scorer out there. That's Kirk Penny.
Looks a bit like the Maginot line. Nowitzki throws it outside. Pesic back to Nowitzki. Watch this shoot.
Nothing but the bottom of the net. Nothing but the bottom of the net.
Splash. 26-16, and suddenly it's a 10-point lead to the Germans.
And Tav's going to have to get a couple of his starters back. We've got no offense other than Kirk Penny out there.
Here's where we got to try to stop their momentum. We've got to change the rhythm of the game. Penny can do it right here, but he's just not hot at the moment. A foul on one of the German players, Negabatsi. Good shot of him getting off the floor there. Kirk Penny just can't find a hoop here. Scoreless in the first period. Germany on a 14-0 run. Jeff, that's a killer. Very hard to get back into the game when you give up 14 unanswered points.
It certainly is going to be difficult for us, Bob, but you know, now that we've got a bit more scoring coming back into the game with Pero Cameron and Sparky Dickel, we should be able to pin this back.
Pero might have to drag Nowitzki high and try to pop a three. Pero putting his big body on the line. They're trying to set some picks for some of the smaller guys. Now, Okulaja puts a foul on Pero Cameron. I'd love to see this one on a replay. I'm sure that Pero had a hand in drawing that foul out of Okulaja.
And falling over. He had a foot in falling over. Definitely sucked the foul out of the referee there.
Right. 8:18 left in the first half. New Zealand inbounding the ball. 14-0 offensive run to Germany here. Cameron gives it off to Sparky Dickel. Watch the switching on the picks. The Germans are so quick. They're not getting hung up on the picks. Immediately somebody comes around a pick. One of the German guards picks him up. Carol Cameron working against Nowitzki. Loses the ball to Pesic. Back and forth Pesic. Okalaja. Damon Rampton gets down.
Got back and he got a hand on that, a finger, a nail on that. And the Germans put it out of bounds. Good stuff, Damon.
Tab Baldwin thinking, trying to figure out a way to crack the German defense. Very tight. Now, Kirk Penny gets time there.
He needs that. We need that.
There.
And that's the offense we're talking about, Bob. We need to be patient because we are one of the patient teams here at these championships. We need to work the ball so that we get the open looks for our shooters like Kirk Penny.
Well, that's right. They need patience. We're certainly not going to have it, are we?
No.
Nowitzki spinning to the hoop and gets the two, and it's a 28-19 lead. Compliments of Kirk Penny's three-pointer versus Nowitzki's two-pointer. Now the Hooters sounds, new player coming on the court for New Zealand, Phil Jones. Is going to replace Damon Rampton.
Damon's done a good job. He did a good job defensively there on Nowitzki. Nowitzki just had 4 or 5 inches over him. That's all that play there. Otherwise, that was a good defensive play.
That's right. Nowitzki can handle anybody on the court. Offensively, the guy is virtually unstoppable. When he's hot and in his motion, I believe there's hardly a person in the tournament that could stay with him. Now, Dylan Boucher wants to work against a pick. He's looking for Pero inside, down the lane, spins, puts up the left-handed shot. It's there!
No, it's got to go.
It's not. It bounces out, and the referee says he didn't get the shot up in time. The shot clock, 24-second shot clock went off. Even if it had dropped through, it would have been disallowed. So fortunately, I guess it didn't drop through, and we don't have too much to grumble about.
No, the only thing we've got to grumble about is we're down 9. We need a good defensive play. The Kiwis gone into that 3-2 zone. They've run a lot this week.
Well, this is high-risk defense against a shooter like that. And the foul is going to be against, here's the new player on the Eric Babu, number 12, Stephen Eric Babu. That's his second. In fact, I hadn't seen him in the game previously, but obviously he was. He picks up foul number 2, 28-19, the Germans by 9. 6:32 left in the first half. Bit of a chess match at the moment, Jeff. Very crucial part of the game. Pero off the glass, gets his own rebound. Nowitzki gets him from behind. Yes.
Big Pero Cameron, 6'6" against the 7-footer Dirk Nowitzki. Pulls the second foul on Nowitzki, and that was pure Cameron. Just watch this.
Watch Pero with the backside there. He just a little nudge with the hips.
The big Napui backside comes out into it. There it goes. And the German had no question, no answers for that one.
No, that's great move. It's very hard to guard against this man.
You've got a smile from ear to ear there, Bob.
Just to get around him and make the steal, it's a long way to run.
It certainly is around Cape Horn, isn't it?
Pero's going to make it difficult, too. A big hip will come out and make it even farther.
And he's made 2. Could you look away? Down to 7, Bob.
We love you, Kiwis. 28-21, New Zealand climbing back here. They're staying with the 1-2-2 zone. Call it a 3-2.
3-2.
Into the corner. Negabatsi puts up a 3. Oh, what shooting.
That from the youngster, 20 years old, in a major game like that. That was huge.
Ah, that's great shooting. We've seen some wonderful basketball here. It's just a feast. Sparky Dickel, ball high. Pero fighting through 2 or 3 picks. Phil Jones gets the ball, doesn't drop, and Boucher almost knocks it out of bounds, but instead it's number 9. Henrik Rodel knocks it out of bounds, so the Kiwis will inbound it.
You're pretty proficient with those German names, aren't you, Bob? You stayed up all night, didn't you?
No, I've got a bit of German in my background. Montai, what do you think that is? And a touch of Polish. Okay, Kirk Penny.
Kirk Penny for 3. You know, that answered the 3 down the other end, so we get it back to 7. We're staying in touch, Bob. It's that magical 10 points at halftime. As long as we stay within that, you know, we're well within this game.
Well, the scorekeepers on the screen haven't caught up. It's actually 31-24, 7-point deficit. Bit of a cushion for the Germans here. The left-hander doesn't go down. That was Pesic.
I don't think the German coaching staff were happy with that. He was at least 3 feet away from the end of the three-point line. That was ill-advised.
Negabatsi, look at the quick feet. The flight of the bumblebee begins as Dickel takes it to the hole. Nice move, yes, sir.
Dickel down the lane, down bloody nose lane. No one there to block the shot. No 7-footers in for Germany. Easy 2 points for Sparky.
Dickel hot-wired on that one, and it's a 31-26 ball game. 4:47 left in the first half. Pesic trying to force his way down bloody nose lane. He's called for steps. It's a rare call these days, but finally they tagged one against him, and the German coach.
What are you calling?
Yes, well,
what are you calling? He called a travel, mate. It's pure and simple international language.
Timeout taken with 4:40 left here. The German team wants a timeout. New Zealand on a 7-3 run, and they're behind by 5. Germany 31, New Zealand 26. Well, it's a good comeback, Jeff. They're clawing their way back into the game. It's good to see. It's tough work, though. It's a long way to go, but whenever they tighten up defensively and start forcing a bit of mistakes, they actually play better offensively as well. Now, what I did like to see was Dickel taking it one-on-one. I think he's got the foot speed to do a little bit more of that, and maybe he's going to just have to take over and show us his stuff a bit more.
Absolutely, Bob. And one of the things that the international media here, once again, they're very surprised that someone like Sparky Dickel, they didn't understand that, you know, this guy led the NCAA, all of college basketball in assists. The last year's senior year, and they're just amazed that, you know, people are actually grabbing the atlas and say, aren't you somewhere down by that other country, that big continent?
Well, that's right, Jeff. Along those lines, I made a little bit of an information sheet. I brought about 30 copies, a little bit about New Zealand and about the Hakon. I left them on the media bench. They were gone in about 10 minutes the other day, so that goes to show you just the impact, the interest in New Zealand that has been created by this tall black team. A really gutsy team, and as nice off the court, as tough on the court as they are.
Yeah, Tab Baldwin, Nenad Vucinic, and the boys have done a great job. They're great ambassadors for the country, and exactly, you know, you're exactly right, Bob. Everyone as long as you've got a Kiwi accent, you know, people all over you like a rash, wanting to know about the country, you know, wanting to know where these guys learned to play basketball. You know, it's all good stuff. But I think the best thing that shown in the 7-3 run that New Zealand's made is the fact that we've played good offense. And that's what Tab wanted down the other end. Good defense, but more importantly, some good offense.
Well, that's right. We've just seen a couple of nice replays of some of the German scoring. It's very, very tough. It's going to be a 40-minute ball game to try to keep that machine in check. And at the other end, New Zealand really have to work for every shot they're getting. Pero takes it inside, double pumps it, and Rodel comes away with the block. Good defense. He was double teamed. He made a good move to the hoop, but he just couldn't get the ball in the air. The clouds come over you very quickly when you're in the paint.
Certainly do at these championships. There's so many big guys.
The sun disappears quickly.
Oh, look at that. That was a great offensive move. You know, he just took his time, patiently backed Dylan down, and just jumped straight over him.
Ademola Okalaja plays his professional ball in Spain for one of the Spanish clubs, Barcelona, I believe. A lot of these European players don't play in their home country. They get bigger contracts elsewhere, and it's actually good for their side to have experience playing in other countries. New Zealand's getting a bit of that too. Phil Jones would be going to Italy, and be interesting to see where Sparky Dickel heads next, whether he stays in Australia or goes to one of the European countries.
Well, there's been a lot of interest with NBA scouts and a lot of European scouts over here at the moment, Bob. And, you know, a lot of names have been mentioned out of this Kiwi lineup, and a lot of agents are very interested.
Eric Babu got his hand to the ball, and you could see the intent there was just to keep it alive and bat it back out high, but instead he knocked it out of bounds. So New Zealand will inbound the ball, and in the meantime, a couple of subs. Paul Hinari comes in. Kirk Penny's going to inbound the ball. Now the point guard going against Lutka. Jörg Lutka marking Paul Hinari. It's good to rotate the guards. You got to keep them fresh. A lot of running, a lot of energy expended. Backing in, Ed Book. Nice pass.
Beautiful
to
pass.
Jones.
Beautiful pass. That was Kirk Penny on the layup, left-hand layup off the Ed Book pass, and that's the sort of value that Ed does bring. He's a big man that can pass the ball.
Wow, that's good. The ball went to the open man, came from high off a pick, got to the hoop, uncontested too. Okulaja from the corner, doesn't go down. Weak side rebound goes to the big man, Eric Babu. Baseline, Rodel, and he's called for charging. Nice call, referee. As I said before, we've got neutral referees. We got one from Slovenia. The other one, I believe, is from Brazil.
Santos.
Santos, he makes a call. Rodel just lowered his shoulder and tried to knock Ed Book out of the way. See the composed look on Ed Book's face. He didn't mind taking a bump at all. It's exactly what he was playing for. Sometimes it might look a little bit brutal, but that's exactly what the defensive player's trying to do, draw the foul. Book on the baseline, little fake, puts up the shot. Terrell Cameron on the weak side, double teamed, he forces it up. Nowitzki got a piece of it. Jones. 16 seconds on the shot clock. We got it.
Look at the replay. If we get a replay, this is pure basketball.
Pennies from heaven.
This is, oh, great. So this is exactly what the international community are talking about. New Zealand, look at that. Into the low post. Pero Cameron behind the back pass to a cutting Kirk Penny. Beautiful basketball. Split the defense in two. You can't get any better than that, Bob Monti.
I agree. I agree. That just beautiful basketball. Kirk Penny, the complete Kiwi now. He's got it all. He can drive. He can hit from outside. He's one of our best defensive stopper. And when I say stopper, when somebody on the other team is hot, you put your defensive stopper on him to cool him down, and Kirk Penny can do that job. Now the Germans are getting a little upset. Kiwis getting physical. We talked about that before. One way to play yourself into the game is start bumping the opposition around. We've got a timeout taken by the German team. There's 1:54 left in the first half. Germany lead by 3, 33-30. Nice comeback here, Jeff. The Kiwis looking good. They clawed their way back. Actually, they were only down by 2 points at the end of the first quarter, and then they slipped down. I think they were 11 points, 9 points down, something like that. And they've come roaring, well, not roaring back. They've clawed their way back into the game here by virtue of the fact that they played tough, uncompromising defense.
Yeah, they certainly have, and that's what the Kiwis are all about. Let's see if we can just listen to what Tab's saying here.
You know they're going to go underneath. Be quick to set the screen, and then be patient to get the read. Okay? Make the damn thing work. The other thing is, you can get open, get strong size, but the Nowitzki guarding the screen, and we can really attack it.
Small country, big hearts. That's what the big screen shows us here at the World Championships in Indianapolis, Bob. That sign there, that says it all about Kiwi power. Small country, big hearts. And of course, one of the things that we've got to recognise back home, the fans watching this telecast, you know, the majority of this Kiwi team is homegrown. In fact, they're all homegrown. They all started their basketball in New Zealand. You know, 2 or 3 of them have gone overseas for further experience. But, you know, our national league is great. It's a tough league, and it's something that, you know, Kiwis got to get out there and next year have a look at, because this is where these guys have come from our own league.
Well, I agree with you, Jeff. And we're playing a country with 83 million people.
Unbelievable.
Well,
you can't fathom the numbers. Where did they get 80 more million? We can't even have enough sheep to match them up.
No, that's right. Well, that's the way it is. What an impression we've made on the world basketball stage. And you might be getting tired of your enthusiastic commentators, but believe me, there's good reason for all the enthusiasm here. The Tall Blacks are showing a number of countries how it's done. Okulaja with his first.
He's a nice player, that guy. He's kept the Germans in it. He's done all the scoring. You know, sure, Nowitzki scored 7 points so far, but you know, this guy has really kept the Germans in it.
Well, he's one of the fleet of limousines on this team. He's just He's a pretty shiny machine, this guy, Okulaja.
You and Murray Mexted aren't related in terms of getting some of these sayings out, eh? Do you read from the same book, Bob?
No, Jeff. Comes uncensored from the well of my deep mind. 35-30. Kiwis miss a shot. The Germans on a fast break here. Nowitzki trying to make a move on Ed Book. He decides to throw up the three, and it doesn't go down. Phil Jones
we
just couldn't get his hands
rebound.
to the... Couple of Kiwis bump bodies, and the ball went missing. Picked up by the German Pesic. Nice little feed. Okulaja misses an easy one. And look at Ed Book fight for the ball. 3 players on the floor. Goes out of bounds, and it's given over to the Kiwis.
Kirk Penny on the floor, Ed Book on the floor. That's the Kiwi heart that people are talking about.
Ademola Okulaja not really happy with that call, but does that upset us?
Look at
Not the
this.
least.
Look at this. Ed Book still going. Takes him down, and for good measure, Penny helps him.
Pennies continue to fall here. 1 minute left in the first half. 35-30. Carol Cameron working baseline, kicks it out. Phil Jones from the corner. It's almost there.
No, out
but
of
he's
bounds for Pero Cameron.
just got his foot on that big wide stripe on the baseline there.
Those big size 14s, 15s got on the line.
Wouldn't matter how long they are. It's the width of them, Jeff.
And they're pretty wide. They're 15 wide as well.
Here we go, 42 seconds. Nowitzki trying to hot up here. He does. He gets it. After about 4 misses, he drops one from about 18 feet. So it's a 7-point lead to Germany. New Zealand have got to score virtually every possession, Jeff. It's crucial they don't slip too far behind. What a nice pass, and Phil Jones finishes it off.
That's the second time they've run that double screen at the high post there, and we've one of our guards has got an easy layup. You know, Penny first quarter, and now Phil Jones.
Someone left the house open. They left the back door open, and Phil Jones sneaked in to get 2.
Like a thief in the night.
That's right. And number 9, Rodel, makes 2 as the hooter goes. Phil Jones's shot falls short. Germany 39, New Zealand 32. Jeff, just looking back at the first half, what are the features for you?
Well, I've got to say that, you know, the Kiwis have kept it within that 10-point margin that we've always wanted, Bob. That's the first thing. Secondly, I think our defense has done very, very well, considering that Nowitzki has been quiet with only 12 points. I think if we can stop the other scorer, Aku, no, I'm not even going to attempt to say it. As long as we can stop him from scoring, then we're right. Down the other end, we've just got to get smoother. And as long as we're smooth, we're right.
Well, you're right. We're in the game. Germany leading 39, New Zealand 32. We'll be back shortly for an exciting second half.
In Germany, he actually struggled a little bit. I thought Dylan Boucher did a great job early on, and Dirk Nowitzki. And, you know, that has its own sort of advantages for us.
And you're expecting more of that in the second half?
I think we'll see a few little tactical changes that Tab will throw in there, maybe a few little mismatches. And they've also thrown in a zone defence, a 3-2 zone defence, where the players mark an area rather than a man.
And we've seen so much heart in that defence as well. I think of Ed Book. He's taken quite a few blows.
Yeah, and again, he'll have to do the same in the second half. Him, along with Boucher, and maybe look for Penny to have a go on the Nowitzki, but some great offence. I think they've got to try and get the ball through Pero a lot more. He seems like he's a bit of a money man. Whenever he touches it, something good happens, so look for him to be more involved in the second half.
He's the key man for you?
I think so, yeah, definitely. Pero's he's a great player in these big games, and any time he has the ball, a lot of things, you know, run off it quite well.
All right, so there we have it. Pero Cameron, definitely the man. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll chat some more. We'll look at the stats from the first half and also some of the highlights. And we've seen some wonderful basketball from both teams so far. There is much more to come with One Sport this morning. The second half of the New Zealand-Germany clash at the World Champs. Stay with us. What a great start that was. Pero Cameron, a three-pointer in the opening seconds of the game against Germany. Not long now before the second half is underway, with Germany leading 39 points to 32. And Chris Tupu, the offensive movement, that's going to be a key to this second half.
Yeah, you know, we saw partway through that game, the first half, Germany step up their defence. We saw a little bit of players standing around. We've got to have more player movement on offence. Twofold, it keeps our offence going on one hand, but it also keeps their bigger players moving, and that's what we want. We want them moving in and around and out away from the basket. Yeah, and then it gives our quicker players a chance to get to those rebounds.
We saw that, though, with Tab Baldwin, one of those timeouts we were able to listen in on. He was into that. He was very much trying to get the players to move on offence. Yeah,
we saw a couple of great plays where the ball went into the post or Pero, I think, and we had player movement straight away, and we had a couple of layups in succession. So that's the sort of thing that we're going to have to do against the tough German defence that I'm sure we're going to see in the second half.
So what do you think the message is from Tab Baldwin to the team right now?
Well, I think defensively we've got to make sure that we just keep stepping it up. I'm sure he's got a few tactics there that he's going to throw in the zone again, maybe throw in a few different people to match up against their key players. But I think also just at the other end, we've got to keep the ball moving, keep attacking, keep taking those early shots if they're there.
Message in the German camp then?
I think that, they'd be reasonably happy with where they are, but their defence has really got to pick up if they're going to have a good go at the Tall Blacks.
Been pretty tough overall, though, given the height differential. It's a pretty tough time on the boards.
Yeah, we've seen the odd rebound that they've sort of just managed to get because of their height. But overall, I think I'd be pretty happy if I was, the Kiwi players are a bit smaller, but the hustle factor is always a good one for us, and the Tall Blacks definitely one of the best hustling teams in the tournament so far.
Well, here we see the story of the first half through the stats. What's a standout figure for you there, Chris?
Pretty even, points in the paint there, and, overall, pretty even sort of a game. Germany's obviously had a few more shots at, a few more possessions, 33 shots at goals compared to New Zealand's 29, so, yeah, other than that, it's a pretty even sort of a game.
And you'd be pretty pleased with the way the Tall Blacks are covering for the loss of Sean Marks at the moment?
Yeah, we look at the points in the paint there, 12 to 10, so we're actually up on the Germans in that sort of sector. Rebounding, down by 3, so that's not too bad. It's not too much of a difference. I think that's of concern at this stage.
And the difference in the points tally is 39-32. The Germans ahead by 7 as the players just getting ready for the second half to get underway. Let's go back to Indianapolis, the second round match in the World Championships. New Zealand playing Germany. The Germans ahead by 7. And our commentators, Bob Montai and Jeff Green.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Welcome back. We're just a few minutes away from the start of the second half, and we've been looking at the stats, too. Our statistician, Stephen G's abacus, is running red hot here. Well, we sifted through all the figures, and we've come up with a couple of things. Nowitzki, the man I've been raving about, actually is looking a bit shaky. He's the leading scorer with 14 points, but that's about probably 10 below what you'd expect him to have on an ordinary night. Okulaja, this is a man, the hitting man, really. He stepped up. He's playing a very solid game. 11 points for him. He's a danger man, but I think he's got a short fuse. He was just getting a little bit ratty near the end of the second half. We get a couple of more fouls on him. That could change the complexion of the game. Speaking of fouls, no one on either team is really in foul trouble at this point. That is, nobody has 3 fouls. As physical as the game has been, it's amazing no one has 3 fouls yet. So, one other point, Jeff Green, I just want to make mention of is Femmerling. The other big low-post player for the Germans has virtually been absent since early in the game. Now, I don't know why. Perhaps he's having an off day. Mentally, he might not be in the game. Certainly, there's got to be a question mark. Why isn't Patrick Femmerling playing more in this game?
Yeah, I think sometimes big guys, when they know that they're a lot bigger than the opposition, tend to fade away, and maybe the coaching staff are saying, look, you're going to sit on the bench until you realise we're actually in a ball game. We do need you, as that stat showed, that New Zealand had more points in the paint in those stats. And the other thing that is great is the second chance points, 9-2. For the Kiwis. That spells guts in your terms, Bob.
Absolutely. You read that statistic out, and it's G-U-T-S. That's the way the Kiwis are playing. Now, we're just looking at the leading scores. Kirk Penny was held scoreless in the first period. He came roaring back with 10 in the second. Farrell Cameron is doing a good, solid, all-around job. He's dishing out fouls to these German players as fast as he can. And we hope that a couple of them are going to stay around him long enough to pick up fouls number 3 and 4 and really have something to get mad about. But anyway, it's been an absolutely enthralling first half. And once again, the Kiwis have risen to the occasion, playing without Sean Marks, who's sitting on the sidelines, and he's up on his feet every timeout. He's talking to his teammates, patting them on the back. It shows the class of our NBA star, Miami Heat player, Sean Marks. Now we're just moments away from the tip-off to start the second half. We're going to be going with Mark Dickel, Kirk Penny, Dylan Boucher, Peril Cameron, and Philip Jones. The Germans are going back to their starting lineup. That means Femmerling comes back in. Demerol, the little point guard, Okalaja, and Garris it is. No, that's not a movie star. That's Sean Marks protecting that right eye. A cut iris, bleeding internally. We just hope it repairs itself before Wednesday's game against China. Kirk Penny controls the tap, gives it off to Phil Jones, but the pass was too low, came off his ankle, and a mistake to start the second half. Demerol nets it with 3.
And then that's a 6-point turnaround right there because of the 2, well, 5-point, the 2 we didn't get down the other end, and they come back with an easy 3.
That's right. It really punishes you, and we saw that against Argentina going into the last quarter down by 2, and Argentina came out and blew us away, mainly on turnovers. You lose 2, and you lose 2 at the other end. 4-point turnarounds. Okalaja puts up the shot. It doesn't go down. Ball's knocked out of bounds, I thought, by Garris, but it goes over to the German team. Penny must have had a hand in that.
You certainly do. There's the 3-pointer again. And, of course, down the other end, when we came back, we turned it over yet again. Two in a row.
Kicks it out to Nowitzki. Doesn't go down. 14 points leading all scorers, but Nowitzki is not really having a hot game, not like he did against the United States. I still rate him as a class player. All the moves, offensively, defensively, he plays with intensity, and he'll talk to the common man of the street. It's nice. He makes a block. Dylan Boucher couldn't get it over his head, and nice pass to Femmerling, who goes inside, doesn't go down, and Garris gets his hands on it. It's a tie ball. New Zealand's got to box off the boards, Jeff.
Yeah,
they just gave up two rebounds there.
Sorry, Bob. Yeah, you're right. We've got to get back first and foremost back on defense in the transition. Look, the big guy, the 7'1" guy, ran the lane and got the ball off the break. We can't afford that, guys. We've got to get back real quick.
Phil Jones controls the tap. Long pass ahead. Sparky Dickles going up against Femmerling. Femmerling had a swipe at him. The call didn't come, and Phil Jones is going to be called for going over the back of Okalaja, trying to get the ball, and 2 fouls on Phil Jones. Sparky, I think, was just intimidated. The shadow came over him once again.
Yeah, the dark clouds just rolled into town, and Sparky at his height is no way going to go against 7'1" like that.
Previously, it had been quite a sunny day. Underneath, Femmerling. He's going to be pushed. He's going to get the 2 points, and Phil Jones picks up 2 quick fouls here to start the second half. Not a good start for the Kiwis, and the Germans rip into a 12-point lead, 44-32.
Get the ball inside. A defensive assignment lost inside, and the Germans are quick. The big fella, we talked about him. You just talked about him. You know, he was a non-factor in the beginning of the game. All of a sudden, he comes out, and the coaching staff set him on the bench for so long. He said, well, I better learn to get out there and play my minutes.
And he's as good as his word from the free throw line as he shoves Germany into a 13-point lead. Danger time for New Zealand.
Tap staying with Phil Jones on 3 fouls. You know, that's a courageous move at this point, but we need the offense.
We need offensive firepower, and a foul is going to be called against number 11, Garris. Kirk Penny having to do a bit of one-on-one. He's perfectly capable of it here. A little fake. You see Garris with the elbow just nudging Penny to the right. Pushed him off the line of fire there, so the shot doesn't drop. German team fouls at this stage 1. The Kiwis on 2. 2 minutes into the third period. Boucher finds Dickel. Back to Boucher. Down Bloody Nose Lane. Bails out to Kirk Penny. Boucher!
Oh, Dylan Boucher. He didn't worry about those dark clouds gathering around the ring there. He took a straight up and easy reverse layup.
Well, he said to Femmerling, I'm going around him out, and then he sneaked through the pass and put it up. He got it. Oh, Nowitzki comes back with a big 3. Count them. 1, 2, 3, and it's 48-34.
Yeah, I don't think he liked the basket that Dylan Boucher made on them just then.
Nice little fake from Phil Jones. Rims the ball.
No, offensive goaltending. The referee's called goaltending.
You can't do it. I didn't see it. Where was it?
Obviously, the ball was going up. The referees know best, Bob. I was
Every
told that
time,
once.
every time. So the basket doesn't count. There wasn't a foul called. And now we've got Dylan Boucher tangled in Femmerling's arms, and he's going to get a foul for his troubles.
He's got a knot on the side of his head for his troubles here. You watch this. Dylan got a knot on the side of his head for his troubles as well as a foul.
Femmerling was saying, I was just reaching for my wallet. Underneath the pass, picked off by Dylan Boucher. He comes right back to make the steal. Jones, little fake. There's a three-pointer short. And 3 Germans contesting the rebound. They're ready to run. Demerol, the little guard, gives it to Okalaja. Following in, that's the trailer who makes it 2. 50-36, Kiwis in trouble.
We need a basket here. We need a nice, smooth offense.
Well, we've seen these teams can punish you so quickly if the shots suddenly start not going down. You're giving up the ball, and you're punished at the other end. Kirk Penny picks off a cross-court pass, a foolish pass from the Germans. Sparky Dickel with 3. Doesn't go down. Penny gets it. Had a chance to put it up. He's into the paint. Little fake. Takes it past Nowitzki. Nowitzki just waits patiently, gets the rebound. He doesn't score. And the ball ends up in Phil Jones' hands. A little bit too helter-skelter right now, Jeff. Let's take a big breath. We'll settle it down, and the Kiwis will work off a pattern.
Absolutely, and I think Tad's yelling now. We need structure offensively. You know, a couple of one-on-one moves, a couple of little advice shots that we didn't need. And, you know, we just need to take our time and work the ball.
Dylan Boucher with 3.
So what happens?
It
Dylan
falls
pulls a
short.
3.
Perro knocks the ball out of Dirk Nowitzki's hands, and as he goes by, grabs hold of Nowitzki, trying to pull a foul from him. That doesn't work. Substitutions for New Zealand. We've got Ed Book back in the game, and Damon Rampton spelling Dylan Boucher and Phil Jones. Good subs. You got to keep rolling them over.
Yeah, that wasn't a bad shot by Dylan. Like, you know, he was free on the offense. And you know, he has nailed those type of threes in the league, in the National League back in New Zealand. So, you know, Dylan is not normally known for his offense, but he certainly is a good defensive player.
Well, we've got one of the droughts that has beset us now. An 11-4 run to Germany. Demerol took steps. There wasn't a call, and he knocks down the 3. That's good shooting.
That was pure shooting, and of course Sparky Dickel caught him on the edge of the knee there, and the German coach and bench are all over the referee down on to the right of us.
Well, the Germans might grumble about that, but they didn't pick up the steps. Right there,
Yep.
He got the ball, took a little sideways step, no call, knocks down the 3 and doesn't get the foul. Tough each way, I'd say, but they end up with 3 points. Kirk Penny, nice little fake. Femmerling blocks that ball. He had time to read the brand name on the basketball before spiking it in the floor.
He thought he was playing volleyball.
Hey! Sparky's back.
Sparky Dickel nails the 3. Someone's got it. We need some offense right now. You know, we're down 14, and we've just got to grind our way out offensively, make some good defensive stops right now.
53-39. Kiwis fighting uphill now. Demerol nets another one. Great shooting from the little point guard.
That's a second in a row right now.
Time for Sparky to short-circuit his game. Ball tipped away by Damon Rampton, but Pesage controls it. He gets a runaway 2-pointer, and Dickel picks up the foul. Kiwis losing a bit of composure now. The transition game letting them down.
Yeah, and of course, you know, Sparky came down, tried to force the ball on the break, didn't get that, then came back down the other end and fouled. You know, so, you know, 2 things went wrong there. Timeout Germany. Oh, sorry, timeout Tall Blacks.
And hardly a foul there with 4:47 left in period 3. New Zealand has taken a timeout. Germany leads 58-39, a 19-point lead. Well, Jeff, it's a tragedy. We've seen it so often. New Zealand have a habit, really, of giving up 10-0, 14-0 runs, and Germany has just got us in a vice-like grip, and they punish every mistake.
Yeah, and that's the difference between a lot of between ourselves and a lot of the top international teams. Like, you know, anything is punished severely. Any mistake is punished severely, and the Germans are no different to Argentina the other day in punishing mistakes. And what we've got to do is, here we go. Listen to Tab real quick.
Let's try and get it. Now, let's make you first receiver, okay? And we'll try and see if we can get some shots from the pinch post back to the down screener, okay? We got lots of time here. Okay, Piro's there. 4, 3, 2, 1 and 5, or 5 and 3, doesn't matter, okay? We go, ball goes here. We go pinch post, there, off, down screen, and pop back. We dribble, we don't take that, we kick there, okay? Let's see what we got. Okay? Matter of fact, let's put the other post inside. Okay? Put the other post inside. Alright? Mark. That means we're shooter, or here. Doesn't matter. Okay? Doesn't matter.
Well, Nowitzki kicking it out, and here's the man. Here's the man with a hot hand, Demerol. He's just made 3 3-pointers, but tell us, Jeff, what's the strategy from Tab at the moment?
Basically, Tab's saying, look, we need more movement offensively. We need to get the ball to the right people in the right shooting spots. They are getting people in the right spots. There's no two ways about it, but they're not the shooters. And, of course, you know, Tab wants people like Phil Jones, Pero, Kirk Penny when he's on the floor to get the ball in their spots. Unfortunately, the offense is running smooth enough, but it's not the right people getting the ball in the shooting spots.
Well, the Germans have outscored New Zealand 20-7 in the last few minutes, and 12 of those points have come off 3-pointers. Now, that's very tough to defend against, and it means they've got to reach deep again and come up with the goods if they're going to get back in the ball game. Pero Cameron from the corner doesn't go down, and Ed Book doing a mighty job on the boards. Demerol comes out, runs into Pero Cameron, and that's 3 fouls on the little point guard. So a couple of good things here for New Zealand. They missed the 3, but they got the ball back. Demerol ran smack into a wall there. Perhaps he should borrow helmets.
We'll talk about him shortly. Phil Jones for 2.
59-41, 4:12 left in the third period. Pesic with the ball. He's looking for Femmerling inside. Hey, somebody's told this little guy, when you're out there, if you got the ball in your hands, get rid of it quickly. It's a game of hot potato. Hey, man, what a hot hand he's had. I think he's had 3 of those 4 3-pointers, though. Great little shooter.
If we can get one more foul on him right now, I think we'll be able to claw our way back, because he is definitely running the German offense.
Now they're leaving Henry and Nari unmarked outside. The shot clock goes off. The Germans already had the ball. The referee calls for Germany to take the ball out of bounds. In the meantime, 2 new players, Pesic and number 10, Negabatsi, come in for Germany. Gives New Zealanders a chance to regroup and go back and set up in what looks to be a 3-2 zone, Jeff.
Yeah, they're in that 3-2 zone. Here, once again, like, we didn't secure the basketball offensively properly, and we turn it over.
3:33, time ticking away here. 18-point deficit for New Zealand. Pesic down Bloody Nose Lane, gives it to Rodel. Oh! Nice block over the shoulder.
Damon Rampton, what a good block, and that's the sort of value that Damon does bring to the team. Offensive rebounds, and if you get caught, he will slap it away off the glass.
Eric Babu, however, got the putback off the block shot, and the Germans still come away with the 2 points. Philip Jones from the free throw line nets it. Nice shooting for Jones. 61-43. New Zealand trying to stem the flood here. Put the clampers on the German offense.
Yeah, Bob, I'd like to see us defensively maybe pick up man-to-man full court with the little guard Demerol out of the game. Germany looks very suspect bringing the ball up at the moment.
They do indeed. Nowitzki passes up. He doesn't often do that. Agar Babu passes it high. Pesic down Bloody Nose Lane again. runs into all kinds of trouble. Rampton says, "You're not going anywhere, mate," grabs a hold of the ball and the wrist.
See, now there you go. There's a discussion between the German players and the German coach. And that's all about the fact that the offense is not smooth. With Demirel out of the game right now, the Kiwi defense, that's why I'd like to see it being extended from the free throw line, maybe half court, pick up a bit of man-to-man, then drop back into that zone and see whether we can put some more pressure on the German guards.
Marko Pesic, 1.97 meters tall. Now, he doesn't look particularly tall out on the floor, but that's just a reflection of the players around him. He plays a guard, a very clever guy with the ball. He loves to slash toward the basket. He's going to get quite a few free shots if he continues to do that. Makes 1 of 2. Germany 63, New Zealand 62 to 43 at the moment. 2:34. 12.5 minutes left in the ball game here. Time for New Zealand to make a run at them. Phil Jones starts it with a 3. Oh, it doesn't go down. Manages to get the ball. The foul's going to be on Negabatsi as he ran past Phil Jones. He was looking for a runaway two-pointer and got Jones on the wrist.
You know, that's a good team foul from our point of view in terms of Germany. You know, they're on 3 team fouls. Another one that will put them into the bonus after that. So, you know, we've still got a lot of time to claw our way back. And as long as we get smooth offensively here, Bob.
Well, that's right. It's all got to come off patterns. It's got to be a very thoughtful, patient offense. Ed Book with a 3-pointer. He's got it. No, they've given him 2.
Giving him 2.
Just size 15s again, Jeff. The toe, the right toe on the 3-point line robbed us of a point.
Yeah, well, just looking at Ed's shoes, and I don't know if they're size 15. They look like 17s to me, mate.
62-45, 2 minutes, 5 seconds. Nice pass underneath. Agribabu makes a 2-pointer. Left alone underneath, threw a little fake, put up the 2. New Zealand going to work on the offensive end. Rampton trying to get loose under the basket. They'll be looking for Ed Book, I think, going against Nowitzki. He's trying to pull Nowitzki out high. Phil Jones, if he could just shake Pesic, get up a shot. Defense, very tough. Jones, little fadeaway, doesn't go down. Now the hooter went off. Now that's a tragic. We get the rebound. Somebody squashed the shot clock just before it went off.
Yep. That certainly was one against the Kiwis there.
Well, whenever you hear that sound, the referees have to blow it up. They're playing the game exactly as the rules are written. It's just a pity that New Zealand had to give up an offensive board there. Pero Cameron's 3 doesn't drop, and Nowitzki gets the rebound, heads to the other end. Rodel with a cross-court pass, a bit risky. We picked off 1 or 2 of those. Pity we can do it now. 64-45.
He was camped. He was camped.
I think he was out of bounds. He came back in. He didn't realize where he was, so Rodel gives up the ball. Big Patrick Femmerling enters the game again. This man has made an impact in the second half. Nowitzki is spelled. He goes to the bench.
Because he's sitting next to Nowitzki, one of the assistant coaches there, Orlando Blackman. You know, Dallas Maverick star in his own right.
Indeed, passing on his knowledge and wit to the German team here. 47 seconds counting down here in period number 3. Hasn't been a good period for the Kiwis. Boucher takes steps. He just couldn't handle a pass. Little handoff from Phil Jones. He probably got chopped on his wrist. Dylan wouldn't drop a pass like that normally. But once again, we've seen New Zealand struggling here in the 3rd period after being behind by 7 at halftime. Hey!
See, the Germans are struggling, but unfortunately we're struggling down the other end as well. So, you know, it's starting to look a little ugly in terms of both teams offensively. And, you know, but Bob, look at it from this point of view. You know, we're down 19 right now. You know, we've got a 4th quarter to go. We haven't been down this far going into a 4th quarter, so maybe that's a bit of an omen for us.
Well, let's not forget we were down 19 against the Russians and came back and beat them by 9, a 28-point turnaround. But if we're going to do that, some of these shots have got to start dropping. We've gone cold once again. The left-hander, Pesic, nails it from the corner, deep in the corner. And at the buzzer, Dylan Boucher puts it up. It's off the glass and doesn't go down. So at the end of 30 minutes of play, New Zealand trailed Germany 66-45, a 21-point deficit. Often we've seen a bad quarter mixed in amongst three pretty good quarters, and it really makes the team, it's very, very hard to come back from a 13-point quarter.
Yeah, it certainly is, Bob, but like, you know, we've done it before, you know, and mountains have been climbed before. I think that we've got to put a bit more pressure on this guard lineup for the Germans. You know, Demiral's out of the game. He hasn't started the fourth quarter. If we can put more pressure on, disrupt them, and then down the other end, try and get some offensive moves going. And interesting to note, you know, Jones is starting the fourth quarter. He's on 3 fouls. He and Kirk Penny are the two lethal guys on the New Zealand offense. Let's try and get the ball to them and see what happens.
Okay, Jeff, here we go. Now, I just want to make a comment again. We're playing games with 2 referees. This is something of a curiosity. FIBA rules normally state 3, but for some reason, we're playing with 2, and I think it's beginning to show at certain times. On the tip-off, neither of the referees were positioned to see, I think, really who knocked the ball out of bounds. It was given over to New Zealand, and I think with a third referee, there'd be no question it would just be a nice, clean call. But there are times in games when the value of 3 referees becomes perfectly obvious.
Yeah, and in fact, I was reading the tournament guidebook. It said in there it's up to the host nation to pick whether they want 2 or 3. And would you believe the Americans would have picked 2 rather than 3, because they're all used to 3 referees over here.
Maybe there was a budgetary reason there. 3 fouls now on number 13. Lutka misses a shot. Ed Book has 3. Phil Jones has 3. Early in the fourth period, they should be able to last the fourth period. They got 2 fouls to play with. Kirk Penny hacked on the wrist as he tries to make a move to the hoop. Now, Kirk was held scoreless in the third period. He's got 10 points in the game, scoreless in the first and third periods. Jeff, we just can't have that. He's one of our main shooters, one of our main offensive threats, and he's got to open up a barrage of threes here.
Yeah, absolutely, but it's a bit like what Tab was saying in one of the timeouts. There are certain people getting the ball in shooting positions, but they're not our scorers. And, you know, Kirk is one of our scorers, and he's not touching the ball with the right amount of space and time to be able to get off that. And because he's got a lethal shot, he's one of the deadly shooters out here in this tournament, and he just needs that time.
That's right. Penny going against Lutka. Lutka makes the foul, and it's going to put Phil Jones. They're saying that he was in the act of shooting. So Jones gets a couple of bonus tosses here. 66-45, still the 21-point deficit cut to 20. One of the features of the game, and it's not one I'm very happy to report, 35% shooting from the floor versus 48 for Germany. That, you don't have to go beyond that statistic, Jeff. That's the game.
And we talked about that. And there's another one of those big bombs that the Germans have put up. You know, that's probably the 7th three-pointer right now. In fact, no, that's the 11th three-pointer they've shot for the game so far, Bob.
Lutka nails a 3. Phil Jones kicks it out to Ed Book. Kirk Penny coming off a pick. Kiwis working. There's 5 seconds on the shot clock. Dickel puts up the 3-pointer. It doesn't go down. Lutka on the weak side pulls down the rebound, and ever present there, Dylan Boucher.
But there, once again, Kirk did get the ball on the offense, but it was as a passer and not as a scorer.
And coming away from the basket. Very hard going away from the basket out around the 3-point line to stop, spin, and put up a shot. From the corner, Negabatsi's shot doesn't drop. There's a foul. It's going to be 4 fouls on, it's on number 4. That's Sparky Dickel, and it's his 2nd foul. Ed Book has been replaced by Peril Cameron. Going with a short lineup again, Jeff.
Well, it's all right going with the short lineup, Bob. It's down the other end that we're just not looking to score. And, you know, I keep harping on about it, but if we get the ball to the right scorers in the right position, I think we'll be able to score and come back on this lineup. They've only got the big fella inside. Otherwise, you know, both teams are evenly matched in terms of size and height.
Well, I know it's a big deficit, 22 points at the moment, but actually it's still a very interesting ball game. The Germans are having to work for everything they get. Femmerling, the 7'2" setter, has the ball knocked out of his hands. He's backing into the basket.
Yeah, and hopefully, if the replay shows it, he actually traveled with the ball. Here we go. There you go. Look at that. It's a travel. Pero Cameron complained to the referee. He did travel. Tab Baldwin's off the bench talking about the travel. That was an easy one to pick up. Even I could see that one.
Jeff, I could write a daily column on the number of steps, the number of basic calls that aren't made in this tournament.
Yep.
I believe it's sloppy basketball, and I believe it ruins a game. There's a reason for having a pivot foot and saying you cannot drag it or take a hop to get your position to go up for a shot. It gives so much advantage to the offensive team. Well, enough said, but the referees just aren't making that call. 70-47.
But if we had 3 referees, Bob, I'm sure, you know, the 3rd referee would pick that sort of thing up.
I would certainly hope so. Once again, Kirk Penny just can't find the hoop. It bounces up, unfortunately, over the backboard and out of bounds, so no chance for an offensive rebound. And the Germans bringing the ball up. Sparky Dickel all over Negabatsi. Gives it to Femmerling. Pushed out of bounds by Cameron, but he saves it. Germans patiently throwing the ball around, and Lutka from the three-point line. That's 2 in a row from him.
Yeah, and we did everything there on defense, and you know, hustled our butts off, but left the three-point bomb open, and that's number 12 for the Germans. 12 three-pointers so far.
Hey, Pero Cameron for 3. 73-50. I know the score looks bad, but New Zealand don't get down about this. The Germans are nailing everything. We've gone cold. We're still playing tough defensive basketball, and the Germans are struggling for every point they can. And the Kiwis are doing a good job.
And the reason we know that the Germans are struggling for everything they're getting, even though they've got a 23-point lead, is every time they're shooting the ball, it's the shot clock is down around 5 or under in terms of seconds left on the shot clock. So, you know, that's great, and that is good defense.
We'll call this a confidence builder. They're playing without Sean Marks. They're playing against one of the favored teams. Germany looking tipped to be one of the medal prospects here. And no, we're not making excuses for the Kiwis. We're saying that offensively they've gone cold, and they're being punished once again for not being able to stick it in the hole. Demerol. Oh!
Now, that was a prayer. He threw that up as a prayer. He had nowhere to go, was going backwards, threw it up with a prayer, and then he comes down the other end, that's his 4th foul. So, you know, maybe the German coach will take him off, because that was a lucky shot.
Well, we have to say, when a guy's shooting like that, he's unconscious. He couldn't have been thinking. He couldn't have been thinking about putting that one up. Anyway, it goes down. He picks up a foul, and Kirk Penny lights it up for New Zealand. We got a 76-52 ball game. New Zealand now down by 24, and the Germans hustled a little bit, threw it out of bounds.
Now, this is an interesting move by Coach Tab Baldwin. He's got Sparky Dickel running the point, and Judd Flavel out there, who's also a point guard. So, you know, Juddy's come in to play that shooting guard spot, and I suspect that Kurt Penny will move to the small forward.
It's a very small team, but it's a quick team. Probably trying to free up Dickel for a little bit more offensively as well. Gives it off to Pero Cameron, high with a three-point shot. Damon Rampton knocks it out of Nowitzki's hands. That's good hustle from Damon.
It certainly is, and you can see that the strategy that Tab is trying to employ here with the 3 smaller guards, trying to get in amongst the Germans, and I think that's a good move.
Well, he's mixing up combinations. He's certainly not going to let anybody, especially the Germans, settle into something of a routine. Agarababu gives it off to Nowitzki. He took steps. Again, there's no call, and there was steps there.
Oh, and that was Damon Rampton absolutely hammered him. And there was no call. The German there looking about, what do I do with my arm? I need someone to sew it back on. You watch this. just straight across the arm.
Unbelievable.
And the referee was right there.
Well, at least no one's happy with the referee's shift.
No.
So it's not just us sitting here grizzling.
And least of all the Germans, because they've just turned it over again.
76-52. We got 5:40 left in the first game of the second round. New Zealand going up against Germany. Hey, Sparky!
Dickel all the way to the basket on the NBA star Dirk Nowitzki, drops it for two. A bit more of that. And that's come from having those other two guards, a three-guard lineup, a quicker lineup, getting the ball up the court.
Trying to create little man versus big man mismatches. Dickel now with 9 points. Rampton trying to make a steal.
I think that was a make-up call from the play before, because I thought Damon Rampton did a good job there defensively. He got around the post. He did a great job, got his hand in the passing lane. You watch this here. Damon caught behind him, came right around Nowitzki. That was a good defensive play, Damon. Good stuff.
Now, Germany's star had 14 points at halftime. He's got 15 points. That means in 1.5 quarters virtually, he's managed to score 1 point. There's his second. New Zealand have done the job on the big man. There's still 5 minutes to go, 5:14, and Nowitzki could probably pump in another 14 in that time. I don't think the Kiwis will let him do it. Little man basketball. We're trying to create mismatches, quicker, smaller men against the bigger ones. The foul this time is going to be on
Demerol, number 4. No, sorry.
Number 5 it is.
There is no number 5.
4, sorry.
Yeah, it is number
Demerol.
4.
Yep.
That's his 5th foul, so he's out of the game. He's got a trip back to Deutschland, or the Deutschland bench.
Let's say he's going to cruise the Cowrie for a little bit of time here.
Oh, lovely offensive play.
Now, Rampton could have slammed that ball through. I guess it wouldn't have counted. The ball has to go through on its own. Two hands were high above the ring.
Here we go. This is the triangle. Backdoor play. Kirk Penny way off the glass there. That was great. He got Nowitzki in the air, and the foul on the big fella. That's his third.
Interesting where basketball terms come from. Backdoor. Now, why would you name a team or a play a backdoor play? Well, if you saw everybody, they were looking out on the front porch. They were looking out toward the street. And who comes in the back door?
Kirk Penny.
Unbeknownst to anyone, Kirk Penny. It's quite a descriptive term. Shot partially blocked. Here's Nowitzki on the weak side of the basket. Takes a nice pass, but again, he's not having a happy night with the ball in hand. The foul is going to be against Judd Flavel.
No, Kirk Penny.
Kirk Penny.
That's his third.
That's 3 on Kirk Penny. The timeout with 4:50 left to play in the game is taken by New Zealand. They trail Germany 78-55. Well, Jeff, it's a 23-point deficit. Since the start of the fourth period, New Zealand is back in the game. They're virtually matching them. We were down 21. We're down 23 now. But really, the first 5 minutes of the fourth period, first 4 minutes, sorry, have actually looked pretty good.
Yeah, and that's what's happened with us all along in this tournament. You know, once in a while we have these lapses, and normally they're defensive lapses, Bob, but I'm calling these offensive lapses. We've struggled to score, we've struggled to get guys in the right position. You know, we are running great offense, there's no two ways about it, but it's the wrong people touching the ball, and that's what's happened. And Tab and company are going to have to find a way to make sure that we get the ball to the Kirk Pennies and the Phil Joneses in the right spots, because when they do get the ball in the right spot, you know, their shooting percentage suggests that they can make the basket, but a lot of the time they're being forced to shoot the ball when, you know, they're fluid players, they're great offensive players.
Indeed. Now the score, a 23-point deficit, looks a bit ominous for New Zealand, but it's indicative of the fact that teams are now scouting New Zealand very, very carefully. Too many teams have been surprised by the Kiwis in recent weeks, and no one in this tournament is taking us lightly anymore. And as a result, they target our three-point shooters. Everything is made that much more difficult by teams fronting up and trying to take us out of our offensive patterns, which we saw happen in the third period and which we saw happen in the fourth period against Argentina.
Yeah, exactly right, Bob, and that's what we've got to now contend with. Other people are now got to start freeing up our shooters. setting better picks, or in fact, someone else has got to step up and maybe shoot a basket once or twice that opens up our shooters. Then all of a sudden the defense gets a bit lazy and it stays off them. And, you know, Tab's got a couple of people out there that can do that. Juddy Flavel is by no means a mug when it comes to shooting. He can shoot the basketball, and he's not playing the point guard spot. Paul Hennard is in there at the point guard. So, you know, maybe Tab's saying, Juddy, show us that scoring potential that you have. Get out there, get a couple of baskets, then that's going to free up for our others.
Well, I agree, Jeff. And just a moment ago, another interesting statistics on the screen. Bench points. People coming off the bench for Germany have scored 22. People coming off the New Zealand bench have scored only 2. Now, that's a big, big statistic. And it says you cannot defend just the top 5. You've got to mark everybody.
Kirk Penny just went to the basket, gave a ball fake, a great ball fake to Dirk Nowitzki, went to the basket for an easy 2. Down the other end, the Germans miss an easy layup.
Well, Pero Cameron got back to force that miss. New Zealand almost got caught there. Flavel picks up the loose ball, and New Zealand get a chance once again to put some points up. Cameron off to Henare. Doesn't go down. And Ed Book fighting Agarababu for the rebound. It goes Germany's way. 79-57, 22-point lead. 4 minutes left to play. Germany kicking it around a three-point line. Nowitzki, he's going to try to work on Pero Cameron. His path is blocked to the basket, and he throws a wild cross-court pass.
Oh, and then he pushed, Nowitzki pushed Big Pero out of the way, which is not an easy task.
They get tired of Pero Cameron blocking their way. That's 4 fouls on Dirk Nowitzki, and Nowitzki's having a nightmare in the form of Pero Cameron, number 11.
Yeah, well, that's a Cody stump just in the ground there in the keyhole. So that's a big stump to get around right there, no matter how tall you are.
If the waiter came out and said, Dirk, would you like seconds on Pero Cameron? He would say, no thanks, mate, and I'll pass on the coffee as well.
Absolutely, he's had enough. Dirk doesn't want to see that type of defense again.
He's full of him. He's had a night full of Pero Cameron. New Zealand back to within 20, 79-59. Kiwis coming back slightly here. They were down 23. They pushed the Germans around a little bit recently, and Flavel, before Negabatsi makes his run to the basket, gives him a bit of a push and picks up the foul. Time running out here for the Kiwis. They're going to lose this game. They go against the USA tomorrow, and then we'll be targeting the Chinese team. As tall as they are, Rob Hickey enters the game for New Zealand, replacing Pero Cameron. New Zealand in this period are outscoring the Germans by 1, 14-13, and really, you take that third period out, we would still be 6 points down, and that's a whole different ball game than what we're looking at now, Jeff.
It certainly is, Bob, and that just shows the mental toughness that the Kiwis got to bring into some of these games, and you know, that's all it is. It's a bit of mental toughness, but you've got to say we've done a great job to this stage.
Oh, sure. I'm still pumped up. I've got nothing but admiration for the Kiwis. And I'm sure the Germans have had their fill of Kiwi. They'd rather go back to chicken. Too tough.
Yeah, the hangi was too much for them.
Kirk Penny working on Okalaja. Nice pass into Rob Hickey. Off the glass, it's there. The big man gets 2 walking off the bench.
Tap dog Rob Hickey gets his first 2 points of the ball game, and he's pretty pumped up with that, Big Rob.
Where does the nickname Tap Dog come from, Jeff?
I'm not even going to attempt to explain that one.
Okay. It shall remain a mystery.
It shall remain a mystery. What goes on the road stays on the road, Bob.
Okay. 80 points Germany, playing New Zealand 61, 2:59 left to go in the ball game. Kiwis fighting to the end here. Nice sizable contingent of vocal Kiwi fans here, giving it heaps on the sideline.
Interesting enough, I've got to say though, Bob, the Germans have still got 2 of their starters out there. Nowitzki's out there, and the other top scorer, he's still out there, and that's showing some respect because they know that the Kiwis have come back in games, and the Germans aren't going to put anything to fate here.
Well, Kirk Penny softly off the glass. It doesn't drop. The Germans have just brought in another tall player, 2.15 meters tall, Robert Maris. He's replaced Bemerling. So just when you think the tallest timber's out there and you've seen it all, into the game comes a guy like Maris. Oh, nice move to the hoop and a jam.
And it looked like poor old Ed Book was stapled to the floor then. The young fella just went straight around him for the easy jam.
Paul Henare, it just doesn't drop. A nice move down Bloody Nose Lane. Puts up a soft little lefty. It bounces around but doesn't drop. The other end, Kirk Penny fighting for the ball. It goes back to Germany. Okalaja. Maris spins off the glass, over the glass. And it's knocked out of bounds by Germany, says the ref. So
Two Kiwis had their hands on it. And they give it to, here we go. Timeout by the Germans.
One of the referees runs over and tells Okalaja, don't forget your bench is over that way, mate.
Here we go. There's
Nice
the
move.
young fella.
Nice move to the hoop. Timeout taken, 1:52 left to play. New Zealand trailing Germany 82-61. Well, we get a good look at the New Zealand huddle. Tab Baldwin, a coach to the end here, still exhorting his players and what to do next.
We can't quite hear what Tab's saying, but one of the things that he's going to do, though, is give his players that haven't been given a run too much, they're out there because, like, you know, with the Chinese game coming up, looming in our sights, you know, that's the one that we've got to target right now. And so, you know, Tab's giving that experience to the lads.
21 down, 1:52 left to play, exactly where we started at the beginning of this quarter. 21 down and 10 minutes to play. So New Zealand playing the Germans even. Wipe that third period. We'd go back to the halftime score where we trailed by 7. Animated talk.
Yeah, and you know what they're talking about. They're saying, look, he's so wide we can't get around him. Big Cameron, he's got tree stumps there. Is that legal in basketball? Can they plant trees in the keyhole like that?
That's right.
We can't get around them. That's what he's saying, Bob. My German's expert. I'm an expert in German.
That's right. As I was saying, nobody's going back to the buffet for more. They've had it.
Big PC at the buffet there. He's not letting it. He's boxing out. No one's getting in there.
Tab Baldwin talking with one of the referees sideline. Here we go. The last 2 minutes of play here against Germany. New Zealanders are not going to win this ball game, but they put up a pretty good showing. Wiped that third quarter, and we've got a pretty good ball game, even without Sean Marks. Ball goes over halfway. Ed Book couldn't get his hands to that one. And a turnover gives Germany the ball with 1:35 left to play. Tab, not a happy coach. And here's one of the unhappiest players in the tournament, Sean Marks, bitterly disappointed that he couldn't suit up and play today.
I know he said in his room yesterday while the team had a function, he was bitterly disappointed with the outcome of his eye injury, that he couldn't get out here and represent the country. He is really a true professional, Sean.
Something of a tragedy. Nicobazzi takes it to the hoop. Well, he's playing very loosely, very confidently now. 84-61. The game is all but won, and Nicobazzi showing us a few moves.
Certainly, of course, this quarter, the Germans go up by 2 at the moment.
Judd Flavel kicks it out to Rob Hickey from the three-point line. It doesn't go down, and Maris gets the rebound for Germany.
And that's what I'm talking about, Bob. See, that was good offense, but the wrong man's got the ball. You know, poor old Rob's left with the open jump shot. He took the jump shot, which he should have, but it wasn't one of the shooters.
Well, New Zealand fans may be interested to know, with 3 minutes to go, Yugoslavia just leading Puerto Rico by 3 points. What a great showing Puerto Rico has made against the world champs. Yugoslavia will not repeat, I predict, as world champs this time. Flavel inside. Rob Hickey backing in against Maris. Nice little hook shot. Falls short. Nicobazzi with the rebound.
That's the sort of good basket we need from Rob Hickey. Get the ball down low. You know, that was a nice attempt by Big Rob.
A mere 12 seconds left to play, and a foul is going to be called against number 15. Hickey picks up his first. Rudel will go to the line to shoot two. 84-61. New Zealand have struggled all the way, but have given away too many points off mistakes, and offensively went absolutely cold. Like a drought in the desert.
Certainly is a drought over here in Indianapolis at the moment. It's very, very hot.
New Zealand probably get the last attempt to put up some points here. 9.4 seconds. Counting down. 4 seconds. Henry gives it off to Judd Flavel. Comes off a pick and drops a three. That's a nice sign. 84-64. We outscore them in the fourth quarter by 1 point, Jeff Green.
We certainly did, Bob, and of course that's the reason why Judd Flavel was on there, not playing the point guard, because he can shoot the three. And unfortunately, he didn't get the ball in the right spot earlier on, because Juddy can shoot that. But the Kiwis, you know, they can't be disappointed with that effort. Sure, it was a 20-point loss in the end, but, like, you know, you take away that third quarter, we were right in that ball game. That's a ball game that we could have won. You know, we don't want to talk about ifs and buts, but we were right there. You know, I thought there was a good effort. I thought defensively we did a good job. Offensively, we just need to get ourselves sorted out a bit better than that.
Okay, that's all the action we had from the RCA Dome this afternoon. Germany 84 winners over New Zealand 64. We'll be back tomorrow with more action from the World Basketball Championship.
They played well in the second half of the group matches, but Germany getting away on them in the third quarter. And eventually 64 points the Kiwis, 84 points the Germans, a difference of 20 points. Well, let's have a look at the stats. And Chris Tupu, what is it that appeals to you most about that? Or perhaps doesn't appeal to you most about that?
The bench points, really. The German bench came off. Everyone who stepped on the court from them that came off the bench contributed. And look at the scoring there, 28-7 points in the paint. You know, they did pretty well, the Kiwis, I thought, to nullify their big men. Three-point field goal, 50% from the three-point line is very good shooting. And we saw there their little point guard, number 4. He came up with a few big bombs, and so really the bench points is really a key factor there.
Interesting you put your finger on the bench points, because my memory of the game against Venezuela was that those stats were just about reversed. New Zealand did very well with the bench points.
Yeah, definitely. And our bench, I think offensively we sort of struggled in that third quarter there. Sort of got out of sync a little bit. And the Germans just were able to edge away, and we've seen there one bad quarter can be the ball game. And in this case, for Argentina and also the German game, we had one or two bad quarters, and against those good teams, they'll just punish you.
Well, I think we saw that in the third quarter, obviously. As far as the bench points are concerned, though, when you see a stat like that, 28 points for Germany, these better teams, it almost doesn't matter who starts, does it? They're all capable of scoring heavily.
Yeah, and I think the further we get into this championship and the further down, you know, the road we get, that'll be true, and that the starting five and the people that are coming off the bench won't be much different.
So what's your feeling about the game anyway? Was it the height of the Germans that just made it so difficult?
No, I think offensively we just struggled. We sort of got a bit out of sync and weren't able to execute. The commentators talked about getting the ball to the right people at the right time, and I think that was true for some of it, yeah.
Germany showed New Zealand plenty of respect, though. They still had a couple of starters on the go in that final quarter.
Well, I think every team that comes up against New Zealand from now on in the world sort of stage is going to sort of, you know, make sure that they come out with their A game, and I don't think there'll be any more of, you know, taking the Tall Blacks lightly in this tournament, and then in future games that we have against other international countries. I think the guys have definitely put New Zealand on the map. People in New Zealand are talking about it. You know, there's a real buzz about basketball and the Tall Blacks, so it's got to be great for the sport in New Zealand.
Well, that's for sure. Now, we still have the satellite connection to Indianapolis, so let's go back to our commentary team, Bob Monti and Jeff Green. Bob, perhaps we'll start with you, and some tough lessons learned out on court today.
Oh, indeed, Jeff. I think probably the biggest lesson, and we saw it yesterday or the last time they played, you cannot have an offensive bad patch, because you give up the 2 points you might have scored, and then teams are so good here, so good defensively, and they're so quick with the transition game, they punish you by scoring 2 at the other end. So a mistake is worth not 2 points, but 4 points, maybe even 5. in the case with in the game today, Demirol, the little guard, shot 4 3-pointers, 3 of them, I believe, in the third period. Now that's a 5-point turnaround every time we give up the ball, and you can't do that very often in this class of basketball and expect to win.
Jeff, we're just talking about the third quarter there. I mean, we know how good the Tall Blacks can be, and we've seen evidence of that through this tournament, but can you put your finger on what happened in that third quarter?
Yeah, I just think, Jeff, that the Tall Blacks struggled to, we said it during the commentary, they struggled to get the ball to the right people. You know, the offense was smooth, there was some great offensive play, but what happened was that, you know, the shooters didn't get the ball in the right position, so, you know, they were forced to shoot the ball under some very good defensive pressure. And, of course, when you're doing that, you know, it makes life very difficult. But other than that, you know, I think Tab and the coaching staff will go away. They'll look at trying to run the offense better so that the shooters get the ball in the right position. And it showed in that last quarter. Rob Hickey shot a jump shot that normally would be reserved for one of the shooters.
All right, Jeff and Bob as well, thanks very much for your call on the game today, and we look forward to hearing it all again tomorrow with the game against the USA. Cheers, guys. What about that game against the USA, Chris?
Well, you know, I think it's a great opportunity for the guys. It'll be the feature game, 8 o'clock game, I think, in America. So there'll be plenty of support there. And I just think the guys will really go out there and enjoy themselves. And they'll want to, you know, play well. And if they play well, you know, who knows?
Well, it's one to look forward to, that's for sure. And let's just, before we go, have a quick look at what you can see and when, as far as the rest of the week is concerned. Another chance to see the Tall Blacks play Germany this afternoon at 4. Tomorrow, what a day this is. On court against the USA. We are live at 12:30, and that's a replay as well at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Live at 12:30, counting down to the start at 1 o'clock tomorrow, the Tall Blacks against the USA. And on Thursday, now this is the big one, we are live at 9 o'clock in the morning. The game begins at 9:30. The Tall Blacks playing China. And again, a second chance to see the game at 4 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. Yes, you have to say, really, the Tall Blacks have put a ring around that game against China. Remember, just one win in the 3 games this week should be enough to see them through to the quarterfinals, the final 8. And now the Tall Blacks will be looking at that game against China on Thursday morning, putting a ring around it and saying that's the one. But today, the Tall Blacks running hot and cold. They were cold for long enough in the third quarter for Germany to take advantage. And they were 21 points down, the Tall Blacks, by the end of that third quarter. Now Tab Baldwin has to get the side up for the clash with the Americans tomorrow. And what an honour and a privilege it'll be for the New Zealanders to get on court against the USA. It'll be fantastic. I hope you can join us for that tomorrow. Stand by for the latest in news, which is next.
And Newcastle's sharpshooter leaves Liverpool stunned. Wasn't you going back to my flat the other night?
No.
Took me to bed and...
Oh, there we go.
Cold feet tonight. Juicy apples picked only on the night of the harvest moon. Coconuts from the tiniest Pacific atoll. Hazelnuts select.
Their 3 second-round matches to reach the quarterfinals of the Basketball World Championships in Indianapolis. New Zealand had targeted Germany, their first opponent, as one of their winnable matches. Nikki Walker has the action.
Against the informed side of world basketball, the Tall Blacks couldn't afford a sluggish start. With Sean Marks out, the Kiwis were seriously undergunned in the forwards, but Pero Cameron stepped up to the mark. And Boucher joined the party. The Tall Blacks' defence was solid. The first quarter deficit, just 2. The start of the second spell was a different story. Germany's danger man picked up the pace, the side scoring 14 unanswered points. But the Kiwis showed a lot of heart.
Seconds on the shot clock.
And a lot of determination.
And look at Ed Book fight for the ball. 3 players on the floor.
The second half underway, and suddenly the floodgates opened.
50-36, Kiwis in trouble.
The Tall Blacks unable to counter their opponent's offense. The Germans outscoring the Kiwis by 14 points in the third quarter.
Controls it. He gets a runaway 2-pointer, and Dickel picks up the foul.
The Tall Blacks hustled for everything, but the damage had been done. The miracle comeback never eventuated, the Germans nailing everything.
Germans patiently throwing the ball around, and it
the Tall Blacks put up a great final quarter fight, but in the end, the Germans were too strong.
Oh, nice move to the hoop and a jam.
The Kiwis must now beat either the US or China to make the quarterfinals. Nikki Walker, One News.
So just confirming that score, the Tall Blacks falling to Germany by 20 points, 84 to 64. Another wet day.